Hello. Well, today we've got another member of the dead nettle family. This one is Bugle, Ajuga reptans, and it's Ajuga means to drive away, and usually it's traditionally used to heal wounds and make things better. And it's a member of the dead nettle family, and if you've seen some of these before, you'll remember that they all have square stems, variously hairy, and we'll come back to that in a moment, and opposite leaves. And leaf shape is quite important in diagnosing which species you've got, and also the hairiness of the stems, and in particular the shape of the flower and the shape of a little green calyx behind it. And on this one, the flowers, as you can see, are a beautiful blue colour, and if I look at them carefully underneath my lens, I will see they have a very long narrow tube at the back, and that is characteristic of Bugle. Not all dead nettles have that. But what is interesting about the corollas is that they have quite a big bottom lip and two side appendages, but where the top lip would normally be, it is being reduced, and there are only two tiny little protuberances. I mean, they're a millimetre long, and so that top lip has disappeared down, and it's almost as though it's missing altogether. If you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't be able to see it at all. And that's absolutely typical, of course, of Bugle, not the other members of the same family. And again, I mentioned the square stems, and Bugle has an interesting characteristic which is shared by one or two other members, but none that look like this, and that is that the opposite sides of the square stem are hairy. So you have two hairy sides and two bald sides. And if I look at this one closely, again with my lens, I can see it's got two beautifully white hairy sides to the stem and two blank sides. Usually it grows in damp places. It likes woodland. It's out here in some grassland, but you can see behind me that I'm on a woodland edge, and this probably was wooded several hundred years ago before it was cleared for sheep, and we have a remnants of Ajuga reptans, Bugle. And it's spread out in front of me, and this is a typical way that Bugle grows, because it doesn't only reproduce by seed, which it does very effectively. I can see quite a few insects on these, sipping the nectar and getting the pollen, but it also spreads with runners, stolons, which creep along the ground, and every so often they'll root and another Ajuga will pop up. And I suspect that's what's happening here. This is probably originally all one plant. It'll be one clone, and its stolons have been going out and making new Bugle plants, and that's why the second half of its name is reptans, Ajuga reptans, and reptans means creeping along the ground. So this is a lovely blue plant, Ajuga reptans, Bugle.